Hey, everybody. Welcome to What's Up Wednesday. Thanks for being here. Last month, I attended a safety conference in San Diego, and during the conference, I attended a session that was titled Wildlife Safety, Bite Prevention, and Triage Tactics. I was kind of interested because over the years, we've had incidents with snakes and spiders, and I just thought that with the ever-changing climate conditions, the heat of the summer, and the prevalence of bugs, insects, spiders, bees, as examples, and snakes just seems to be increasing all the time. Now, one of the speakers was a doctor named Chris Tang, and Dr. Tang is a medical doctor, and he also has a master's in toxicology. He owns a company called Care On Site, and it might be a company to look up, but he serves as a medical director for Care On Site and a consultant to a number of Fortune 500 companies. And he graduated from the University of Southern California Keck School of Medicine, again with an MD. His residencies were in internal medicine and occupational medicine. And again, he has a master's of science in toxicology. So when Dr. Tang spoke, I listened. And what was really interesting to me was his recommendations for preparation for insects and snakes, and also for treatment. And in summary, here's kind of what he said. Now, first off, he highly recommends that we make sure that everybody is current with a tetanus shot. Now, that seemed to be very, very important that everybody has a current tetanus shot, because just like stepping on a rusty nail or anything else, it's really important to have the tetanus shot beforehand and not after the fact. Secondly, he broke up snakes, poisonous snakes, and then he broke out insects specifically. And he talked a little bit on the insect side about widows and recluses, which I'll talk a little bit more about. But when it came to poisonous snakes, he was very adamant that we want to treat a snake bite in a manner where we basically, no matter the situation, if we know it was likely a poisonous snake, and really in reality, all snakes, we want to take somebody to the emergency room. I know as safety professionals, we want to try to prevent recordability, but keep in mind that just because we take somebody to the emergency room does not necessarily mean that's going to be an OSHA recordable injury. We're going in for treatment and diagnosis, and again, it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be OSHA recordable, but get them to the emergency room for a number of reasons. One, we want to make sure that we clean the wound properly, and if necessary, they can administer antivenom. Now, the things that he mentioned preventatively for us in the field is not to cut the wound open, not try to suck the venom out, not to ice it, not to give ibuprofen, not to do any kind of a treatment. Just clean the wound with soap and water, transport them to an emergency room so that they can be evaluated. And ideally, if you have a picture of the snake, that would be super helpful so they know how to treat it. Now, antivenom can be very expensive, but he made the comment that in many cases, it's not even necessary. It all depends on the circumstances. And the reason for the emergency room is that generally they're going to have a much greater ability to observe and react to whatever response that person has. So there's snake bites for you. Again, they can't do that in an occ med clinic, and sometimes even in a hospital, they'll transfer you to a bigger medical center that could absorb the cost depending on the situation compared to a small regional emergency room medical center. Now, when it came to insect bites, I was fairly shocked at what he said, whether it's a sting or it is a bite from a poisonous spider, that really he doesn't recommend much treatment. Again, the treatment is to wash wherever the bite or sting was with soapy water, keep it very clean, and observe. Generally speaking, the toxins from spiders and bees and other insects is not going to kill somebody. He indicated that in some cases, there is a significant reaction, such as an allergic reaction, but he generally said to take an antihistamine, I believe, Benadryl, ideally, to prevent any kind of allergic reaction. With some people who have an extreme reaction or response, say an allergy to bees, they may have an EpiPen for that specific reason. And in that case, it may need to be administered, but that's for somebody who has a known allergy. But when it comes to those spiders and bees and other insects, the likelihood is that it's not going to kill anybody, and our body should be able to metabolize the venom. Now, there is a small percentage of people when it comes to the brown recluse where they have local tissue death. And I think we've all seen pictures of what appears to be almost a crater over time where the tissue dies and you end up with a gaping wound. And I believe he said only about 9% of people who are bit by a brown recluse have that happen. But when you see that kind of a wound after a bite, that's generally going to be a recluse. When it's a widow, it's going to be red, possibly swell up, but observe. And in the cases where there is an extreme reaction or response, generally an OCMED clinic at that point, or possibly an emergency room, not likely, but any medical practitioner should be able to administer at that point, again, antibiotics and or steroids, depending on what's going on. So hopefully that helps. But, the key is to be prepared. If you're in a very remote location and you were to need life flight, that's something that you should plan, coordinate, schedule, and purchase ahead of time. Don't wait until you need it because you may not have it available to you. So hopefully that's helpful, but check out Dr. Tang. Again, fantastic presentation, very informative. I know I learned a lot, and I think it'd be valuable for everybody to check it out. Have a great day. We'll see you next Wednesday.